At the beginning of the year, 149 pounds seemed to be a bit of like a 2 or 3 horse race between Anthony Ashnault, Matt Klodzik, and Micah Jordan. But over the course of the season, Ashnault had a very dominant win over Klodzik, and the Klodzik's had a couple losses to guys who people just didn't expect him to lose to. So he's kind of dropped a little bit in the seeding. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the brackets here, make my picks, and kind of give my reasoning why, especially in the matchups where there were actually were previous matchups between the two guys. Not going to go through the pigtail here, though, on the top quarter. So I'll pick Ashnault to advance past there. Then we'll have Montserrat and Jeffries. These guys have gone against each other 3 different times. Jeffries has won 2 of the 3 matchups, including the most recent one, which was just a week ago when he won by a score of 4-2. I'll pick Jeffries to get the win here, although it's kind of unusual that these guys are going at it so early in the tournament. Then we have Justin Oliver versus Schulier. These guys have not gone against each other before, but Oliver is a guy who's a previous All-American, did pretty well with Central Michigan before transferring over to NC State, and I expect him to win this matchup here. Then we have Rolfing versus Deegan. These guys have gone against each other a couple times, and surprisingly, Rolfing's actually beaten Deegan. So in the match that Deegan won by pin. But in the match that Rolfing won, and this was at this year's scuffle, Rolfing won by a score of 7-5 and sudden victory. So very tight match that Rolfing won, a little more dominant from Deegan. I think Deegan's going to be able to get the win here, but this is a potential upset one because it's an upset we've already seen this year in the Southern Scuffle. And then if we're advancing the top quarter here, we would have Ashnault versus Jeffries. These two have never gone against each other, but I will pick Anthony Ashnault. He's looked fantastic this year. And then between Oliver and Deegan, these guys have not gone against each other either. Deegan, depending on the matchups, I think he can go far in this tournament, but unfortunately for him, I don't think that Oliver is the best matchup for him, so I'm actually going to pick Oliver. But Deegan's the only guy who seems to be able to beat Brock Muller. Muller's the guy who I see going pretty far in the tournament, but sometimes with the seeding, you don't get the most favorable matchups early on, and that can derail you, and I think that's going to be the case here for Deegan, so I'll actually pick Justin Oliver to move on. And then between Ashnault and Oliver, these guys also surprisingly have never gone against each other before, but I'll pick Ashnault to get the win here, moving him into the semifinals on the top quarter. Then we'll move on to the second quarter. So we have Klodzik and Sprague. Let me get this here. Klodzik and Sprague actually have gone against each other a couple different times. Klodzik's 2-0. Most recent one was a week ago. Klodzik won that by a score of 9-3, so I'll pick Klodzik to win here again. Then we have Olivas versus Berge. These guys have not gone against each other before. Berge looked pretty good at Big Tens. Kind of had a bit of a rough year this year where sometimes it looked like he may or may not be able to hold on to the spot, but pretty solid performance from him at the Big Tens, and I expect him to do pretty well here in his first round matchup against Olivas from Fresno State. Then we have Anthony Artelona versus Tommy Thorne. These guys also have never gone against each other. Artelona, he's good. He's got a lot of potential, but I've actually, maybe it's just a Big Ten bias for me, but I see Tommy Thorne getting the upside here and moving on. And then in the final match in this quarter, we would have Brock Muller versus Zavis Stosky of Appalachian State. These guys have not gone against each other before, but I've been pretty impressed with Muller, and I expect him to get the win there. So then we would have Klodzik versus Berge. These guys have not gone against each other before. There's no history between the two, but I will pick Matt Klodzik. And then between Tommy Thorne and Brock Muller, again, another match where the two have no history with each other, but I'll pick Brock Muller. Setting up a quarterfinal between Klodzik and Muller. Klodzik, as I mentioned, he's had some losses that have been kind of head scratchers of late. He had that really bad loss to Ashnault, and I think that Muller's going to be able to get one over on him here and advance to the semifinals to face Anthony Ashnault. So the first two in the semis will be Ashnault and Muller. So now let's move to the bottom half of the bracket. So we'll just move that down here. So we have Fine Silver and Cropman. So between Fine Silver and Cropman, there's no history between the two of them, but I'll pick Fine Silver to get the win. And then Martin and Vandermeer. No history between these two either. But I will... I think I'll take Vandermeer here. And then Josh Heil and Palmer. These guys have no history, but I'll pick Josh Heil. And then Anthony and O'Connor, another match with no history between the two, but I'll take Austin O'Connor. So moving on, we'll have Fine Silver versus Vandermeer. This one, there actually is a history between the two of them. Fine Silver has a 5-0 win at the Scuffle, and I'll pick him to win this match as well. And then between Josh Heil and Austin O'Connor, these guys have gone against each other 3 different times, and O'Connor is 3-0 against Josh Heil with a pin in his most recent match this season on November 30th. So I will pick Austin O'Connor. So then we'll have Fine Silver and O'Connor in the quarters. These guys have gone against each other 4 different times this year, which is kind of crazy. So this would be the 5th time if all goes as I'm predicting. Fine Silver's 3-1 against Austin O'Connor, but the scores were 5-1 Fine Silver, 6-4 Fine Silver, 3-1 O'Connor, and then 3-2 Fine Silver. So I'll go with Fine Silver here just because history seems to indicate that he's got a little bit of an edge over O'Connor. But O'Connor has beaten him, so it's not like it'd be crazy if O'Connor was able to beat him again. But I will take Fine Silver to move on to the semis. And that will put us towards the end of the bracket here. So we have Gefeller and Blees. These guys have no history with each other, but I will take Caden Gefeller. There are some worries about him dealing with some injuries. That was one of the things that was mentioned a lot when he lost to Pat Lugo. But he seems to be getting better and is still wrestling at a high enough level where I think he should be able to get the win here. Maruka and Lugo, really tough matchup for Pat Lugo. This is a match that actually has happened in the past. It happened last season at Midlands with Maruka getting the win 4-1. They haven't faced each other any other time. Now Maruka's had a bit of a down season this year, but he's still dangerous, and because he was able to get that win last year, and Lugo has been a bit inconsistent this year. As much as I hate to say this as a Hawkeye guy, I think I'm actually going to have to pick Josh Maruka to get the upset here over Lugo. Then between Thompson and Prince, there is actually a history between the two of them. Thompson with a 12-6 win this season back in November. So I'll pick Thompson to win again. 12-6 is a pretty clean win. And then between Oster and Jordan, there's also a history between the two of them. Jordan pinned Oster both times. So I won't be shocked if he gets another pin here and gets some bonus points for Ohio State. So then with Caden Gefeller and Josh Maruka, these guys do not have a history with the two, or have a history with each other. But I will pick Caden Gefeller to get the win there. And then with Thompson and Jordan, these guys also have a history with each other, but it's actually pretty far back. It was back in the tournament back in 2017. But Jordan got a major decision then by a score of 13-5. So I will pick Jordan to win that one as well. So then you would have Caden Gefeller and Micah Jordan. These guys have no history with each other, but I'm still a little bit worried about Gefeller from a health standpoint. And even if he was fully healthy, this is a tough matchup for him. So I'm going to pick Micah Jordan to advance into the semifinals and into a spot with Fine Silver. So then from there, in the semifinal matchups, on the top half of the bracket, we have Anthony Ashnault and Brock Mahler. There's no history between the two of them, but I will pick Anthony Ashnault. He's looked fantastic all season. Hasn't been beaten all year, and though I think Mahler's going to give him a pretty tough test, I think this is going to be a very close match. I think Ashnault's going to pull out the win here. And then on the bottom half, it's Mitch Fine Silver and Micah Jordan. No history between the two of them, but I will pick Micah Jordan. So then we will have Ashnault versus Jordan, a rematch of the Big Ten finals in the NCAA finals. And the two matchups that the two of them have had this year, Ashnault won both of them, one by a score of 8-6, one by a score of 14-10. So both are high scoring, both are relatively close. Jordan made a couple small mistakes at the end of the match in the Big Tens where he could have potentially gotten the win there. I could see the argument to say that if he can clean those things up, he'll get the win. But I think Ashnault just has more ways to win in this matchup than Jordan does, and for that reason, I'm going to pick Anthony Ashnault to win the title. And I believe this would be the first title for Rutgers as an individual title. So big win for him and great way to end his senior season.